Good morning, and welcome back to the Daily Trucking Market Update podcast. I'm your host, Driven, and on this show, I dive into the markets to keep you truck drivers, you owner operators, up to date so you can best position your truck to make the most money. Now, I'll be using the DAT load board, and I appreciate them sponsoring this video. And in return, they've provided you with the link down in the description box for 10% off for your first 12 months, so check it out. Now, stick around. I got a dad joke to tell, and then we'll dive right in.
Rolling down the highway, sun just breaking through. Radio's playing loud, the show's for me and you. Learn how to book your loads and make that money flow. Keep the shiny side up wherever we go.
Now, all that I ask for the little chuckle, or maybe not, is to hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing if you get some value from this, or maybe just a laugh.
Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well today. We're going to dive right in, get this moving. We'll start with a couple dad jokes. Why do melons have weddings? Because they can't elope. And how do you talk to a giant? You use big words. Woo. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's get into the weather. We'll hit the snowstorm last. We got some rain over on the southeast coast, Georgia, South Carolina, spreading into North Carolina. That's the heavier portion of it. The rest of it doesn't look heavy. That's over there. Florida's got rain. Mississippi's got rain. Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia. Lots of rain in that area, but not heavy. The heavy stuff is in Georgia, South Carolina, and into North Carolina. And then we got some rain pretty much just covering Texas right now. It's just overcast here, but I imagine that's going to change. It looks to be a little bit of heavy stuff. What is that? South of Houston. That looks to be in between Houston and Corpus, maybe even covering Corpus. And then up there in the Panhandle, but that's really the front of this storm, the snowstorm that's sitting, covering New Mexico, Colorado, and has actually grown into and spread into Arizona, kind of dips into Kansas and even touches Nebraska. This looks to be, there's a purple spot. Purple spot is ice. That's very concerning, obviously. That looks to be potentially very close to 40, maybe covering 40. So certainly be careful there. Is that, well, no, that's not 40. Yeah, that is 40. Anyway, you got some ice in the front, on the front of this snowstorm. Let's see what it's going to do over the next few hours. By the way, that's not light snow. That's pretty much all heavy snow, except portions of the back of that storm. And then over the next couple of hours, it looks like you got a pretty severe storm. It's all connected, right? Out there in Texas, and it just looks to be covering a massive portion of that. So if you're headed to El Paso, you're definitely going to pass through that. What is that? Okay, that's this evening. Let's see. Let's back that up. Well, I mean, it's going to grow throughout the day too. This is showing about noon. So if you're passing through Texas, be very, very careful. If you're passing through this snowstorm, be even more careful. It's going to be bad. That looks to be a bad one. And then going into tomorrow, man, I mean, that storm just kind of hangs out. So Colorado's going to get a ton of snow dumped on it. And then the entirety of that storm is just going to kind of move out. It's going to kind of spread across the South, all the way through the Midwest, up into the Dakotas, kind of boomerangs. And then it's going to move out. And then we've got a storm coming in the Northwest in a few days. So keep an eye on that weather, guys. It's that time of year. It's that time of year where, you got to do it. You got to do it. for your safety, for your truck's safety, and lastly, for the loads. All right, getting into the trucking market update. I'd like to start with this on the state level. We look at loads in versus loads out. Okay. This is going to kind of be the barometer for the overall market. This is, we start here. I've got a decent memory, so I'm able to compare kind of, how these states have been doing in the past few days, past couple of weeks, past couple of months. And this will let you know whether or not you have negotiating power or not, whether or not you just need to grab a load and get the heck out of there. We'll also, kind of look for the states that are grouped together, and then we'll look at the heat map here in a few minutes. That'll do a couple of things that'll let us know exactly where that freight's located. Like a good example of that is California. It has a lot of excess freight usually, but not all markets have all that freight. So if you can't just go to anywhere in California and expect to load. Also, we will look at whether these states have excess freight or lack thereof, and how they affect the surrounding states around them. So this is how you position your truck. Doing this every single day. You got to do it every single day. You can't one-off this, can't just look at this occasionally. This has to be an everyday thing. You got to know these markets change rapidly. They even change within the days themselves. But as a kind of overall, they're going to change every day. These honey holes dry up, they pop up. You need to know how they're doing, if they're waning, or if they're growing stronger, if they're popping up. So this is something that really, really needs to be done. Alabama, starting off, 561 loads in, 283 loads out. So not good shape for Alabama. Arkansas, 231 loads in, 314 out. Now, those numbers are down comparatively as of recent. Arizona, 377 loads in, 458 loads out. That's actually pretty good shape for Arizona. California, 1,714 loads in, 3,405 loads out. That's almost a 2-to-1. That is excellent shape for California. Definitely have negotiating power over there. Colorado, 588 loads in, 346 loads out. Connecticut, 183 loads in, 71 loads out. Sorry, guys, hear that? My dogs are playing. DC has 4 loads. Delaware, 75 loads in, 35 loads out. Florida, 1,928 loads in, 446 loads out. So awful shape for Florida. I mean, I don't know why I pause there. It's awful shape every day. Why? It just baffles me literally every time I see it. Georgia, 1,702 loads in, 915 loads out. So Southeast continues its terribleness. Iowa, 248 loads in, 478 loads out. Really good shape for Iowa. Definitely have negotiating power there. Idaho, 119 loads in, 285 loads out. I mean, it's okay shape, right? It's a good shape. But I don't know. It's a little bit weaker than what it's been as of recently. However, a good start for the Northwest. Illinois, 758 loads in, 1,655 loads out. So really, really good shape for Illinois starting off. Love to see that. Indiana, 626 loads in, 875 loads out. So good shape for Indiana. However, not great. That is a decrease in production, and maybe losing, tides may be turning there for Indiana. It's been a really, really good state since we started the channel, or since we started doing this, which would be 2 to 3 months, something like that. And it's been great. And maybe today's just an off day. We'll see. We'll always keep an eye on that. Never break a trend until it proves you wrong multiple times in a row. Kansas, 249 loads in, 214 loads out. Kentucky, 446 loads in, 508 loads out. Decent shape for Kentucky. Louisiana, 293 loads in, 239 loads out. Massachusetts, 330 loads in, 135 loads out. Maryland, 320 loads in, 242 loads out. Maine, 53 loads in, 73 out. Michigan, 398 loads in, 666 loads out. That's not great for Michigan for it being a Thursday. Normally, those Great Lakes states, the Michigan and I don't know why it's but whatever, and Wisconsin usually make a late push, as well as Minnesota. Minnesota is probably the weakest of the three, but usually those two states make a strong push on Thursday and remain strong through Friday. So not good, not loving that for a Thursday for Michigan. Minnesota 225 loads in, 361 loads out. Not great. Missouri 492 loads in, 540 loads out. It's still kind of holding on. That's just kind of average for the moment. I apologize, guys. Mississippi 223 loads in, 275 loads out. Montana 55 loads in, 135 loads out. North Carolina 1,339 loads in, 539 loads out. So that's really, really bad shape for North Carolina. That's production being down, even for North Carolina, and that's trucks being up. Not by too terribly much, but it's still that's going to just decimate the Southeast. Oh, so good. North Dakota 47 loads in, 96 loads out. Nebraska 185 loads in, 238 loads out. New Hampshire 113 loads in, 33 loads out. Jersey 602 loads in, 697 loads out. I'm not sure what's going on with Jersey. Their numbers have been way down this week. So not sure. That's got my curiosity piqued. I'm curious to see if that bounces back next week. Hopefully, considering that we have a new president, that will happen. But that's going to take time. That's going to take time. They've got to undo everything that's happened over the past 4 years. And anyway, New Mexico 151 loads in, 60 loads out. Nevada 262 loads in, 486 loads out. So Nevada has been a shock for me ever since I've started this channel. It's been in good shape. This is great shape for Nevada. This is nearly a 2-to-1. You have negotiating power there. The states that surround it, you don't get a lot of people bouncing up from Phoenix, so that's good. Utah, people aren't really bouncing down. It's one of those states, people aren't really bouncing to it to grab freight. So you don't get a whole lot of excess being eaten up from states that surround it. So Nevada is one of those cool little states that, if the numbers are in your favor, you have negotiating power, period. There's not a lot to look at elsewhere. I mean, unless the South California market's just horrible for whatever reason, but that doesn't happen. New York, 596 loads in, 718 loads out. It's a little low for New York. Ohio, 1,035 loads in, 1,412 loads out. Not great shape for Ohio. I wonder if also, I know that routes for like the Amazons and the UPS and all of that, FedEx, I know those start in early November. I wonder if this has something to do with that. I don't know. We'll see. Where was I? Oklahoma, 374 loads in, 176 loads out. Oregon, 203 loads in, 464 loads out. So really good shape for Oregon. Love to see that. Northwest seems to be strong. Pennsylvania, 1,422 loads in, 995 loads out. Whoa. That is way down. That's the worst number of production that I've seen for Pennsylvania yet. And there's a lot of extra trucks there. Maybe that's what's going on with Jersey. Maybe it's being eaten up. That's certainly gonna hurt the surrounding states for sure. Anyway, moving on. Rhode Island, 38 loads in, 18 loads out. We'll look at that in the heat map. I was thinking that, but I didn't say it out loud. South Carolina, 627 loads in, 452 loads out. South Dakota, 98 loads in, 57 loads out. Tennessee, 921 loads in, 540 loads out. This is not a good week, guys. Not a good end of the week, anyway. Texas, 2,946 loads in, 2,080 loads out. It's actually not bad. That's actually not bad. That's crazy. Anyway, Utah 302 loads in, 369 loads out. That's decent for Utah. Virginia is 768 loads in, 544 loads out. It's a little bit below average for Virginia. Vermont 26 loads in, 28 loads out. Washington 300 loads in, 617 loads out. Really good shape for Washington. Northwest is definitely where it's at this week. Wisconsin 308 loads in, 786 loads out. So really good shape, but that's still lower than usual. That production number is lower than usual. So the only market that seems to be kind of normal is the West, out there in the West. Everything else seems to be down. Yeah, just not good. West Virginia 88 loads in, 143 loads out, and Wyoming 86 loads in, 111 loads out. This is the weekly snapshot by the numbers. This compares numbers from last week to the week prior, last month compared to the month prior, and last year or last month compared to the same month in the previous year. My mouth isn't working today, guys. I apologize. Anyway, I cover these on Mondays because these don't really change throughout the week. But there you go. I've paused on it long enough for you to have paused the video and check it out. This is the average price for freight across the nation. Nothing has changed there. And then the average price of fuel right now is $3.54 per gallon. Can't wait for that to come down. Can't wait. It's one of the first things they do. They open up those pipelines. Blows my mind. Anyway, here's the heat map. Not a lot of red. I mean, makes sense. I looked at, whenever obviously I have to preload these, right? But I really don't look at them. I don't study them before. I just kind of glance and move on, continue setting everything up. It's understandable why there's not a lot of red. I get it. After hearing all of those numbers, not a good week. Not a good week. If you were thinking about going home for the weekend, you might want to do that. If you really need the money, you might want to stay out. I don't know. Anyway, the Northwest. So both Seattle markets and Portland markets are shown to be hot. But as always, check both markets. If you're delivering to one or always want to check both because you never know. You never know. But the entirety of the West actually looks decent. It's either average or better. I mean, I don't ever expect Northern Arizona to have freight, ever. I never expect Montana to have freight. Wyoming's Wyoming. I have a hate-hate relationship with Wyoming, and especially with the snow that's happening there. I avoided that thing like the plague. I went skating one year, and that's not fun to do whenever your ice skates are tires. Man, that was scary. That was scary. Anyway, California, freight's in the southern half. It's showing to have freight everywhere, but the two markets that you're going to be safe in are going to be in San Francisco and in the southern market, the very, very southern market, and which is going to be Los Angeles. So not much different over there. Never gonna be, right? It's never gonna be. There's two ports that are in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Like, that's never gonna change. It's just never gonna change. And if y'all are concerned about tariffs, by the way, well, I'm gonna cover this. I'm not gonna go there. I am gonna cover that. I'm putting out that video. Should be today. If it's not today, it'll be tomorrow for sure. But let's say 95% that video is coming out today. I'm going to talk about tariffs because somebody brought that up, and I understand that it's a very confusing subject, and I'm not an expert on the subject. However, I have done my research, and there's nothing to be afraid of about tariffs. Not a thing. Because they never went away. Anyway, moving on. Texas. I'm going to give the nod to the Houston market at a glance. Houston market's hot. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm going to give the nod to Dallas. Dallas market's hot. The market west of it is not as hot as Dallas, but at the same time, with Louisiana being so cold, you're gonna get you're gonna get people bouncing over from Louisiana to grab freight. And then on top of that, just in general, Dallas's rate per mile is always a little bit higher than Houston's. So the nod goes to Dallas this week. The Southeast, I mean, Atlanta's got freight, I guess. I don't know. I didn't see it. Midwest is just looking empty. You can aim for, man, you can aim for Kansas City, maybe. You could give it a try. I mean, you're not going to make a ton of money this week if you're staying, if you're staying over on this side of the country. It's just not good out there. If I were to go anywhere, obviously I would go to Wisconsin, but even that is a little bit below par. I might make the trek. I might try to bounce up to Wisconsin. I mean, it's a little late, right? But I would already be up there if I were running. And given what I have seen on the load board, I would likely be unloading today or tomorrow. I would have probably already made the decision and probably already had it booked, a load out of there headed over to the Northwest. But I also would chain up. I was not afraid to chain. That being said, if it was too dangerous, I wouldn't chain. But that's just me. That's not everybody. I get that. That's probably going to be your best bet to make the most money. If you're not going to go to the Northwest, maybe try Kansas City. I just can't. I just, in good conscience, I just can't give any good recommendations. I mean, I'm hard pressed to send anyone to Iowa, even though you have just because you have negotiating power somewhere doesn't mean you want to go there. And it's not like there's so much freight in Iowa that you're going to get paid a ton of money. I mean, I would probably either park the truck or go to the Northwest. That's me. The hot markets at the moment are showing to be, and somewhat hot because nothing is hot. Canada's hot. The northern portion of New Jersey is hot. I'm not sure how, considering those numbers that I saw. I guess literally all the freight in Jersey is in the northern portion, maybe. The Indianapolis market, the northeastern Ohio market, which I said I was going to talk about because Pennsylvania is in such rough shape. There's going to be a ton of trucks coming over from PA to Ohio to grab what freight is there. And considering that the Northeast is the hottest market, Ohio, you're not going to have any negotiating power there. No matter where you're at, just don't get stuck. Just grab a load, get the heck out of there. Make sure that you're booked, and just keep it rolling. Right, that's all you can really do is just keep it rolling. So sorry, I don't have better news for you guys. Normally I do. It's been good, right? It's been promising. Let me put it that way. It's been promising. You can make money in poor markets. You just have to know where to position your truck. But when it's this bad, what can you do? If you kind of follow my advice, if you've been doing that for the past couple of months, you're very likely sitting up there in one of the Great Lakes states. So you're likely fine. That's hands down the best place that you can go. But outside of that, I just can't recommend anywhere else to go. So anyway, enough doom and gloom, I guess, for today. Wah wah. Yeah, I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna go edit this video. I'm gonna get it up, and then I'm gonna start working on that other video. That way, I can hopefully have that out by today. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Y'all keep that shiny side up. Stay driven. I'll see you tomorrow.